The neighborhood was quiet and peaceful. It was a place where families had lived for many years. The houses were neat, and the lawns were green and well cared for. People knew each other and greeted each other with smiles. The community was managed by a homeowners association, often called the HOA. The HOA was in charge of making sure the neighborhood stayed clean and beautiful. They made rules about what people could do with their homes and yards. Most people followed these rules, and everything worked well. The man who lived in one of the houses was a kind and hard-working person. He loved his home and took good care of it. He enjoyed gardening, fixing things around the house, and spending time with his family. He liked the peacefulness of the neighborhood and never wanted any trouble. He believed that neighbors should respect each other and live in harmony. However, things started to change when a new woman joined the HOA board. People in the neighborhood soon gave her the nickname Karen. She was known for being very strict and sometimes unfair. Karen believed that the rules were very important and must be followed exactly, but many neighbors thought she went too far. She checked on people often and sometimes asked them to fix small things quickly. Someone did not follow her rules. She could be very loud and angry. At first, the man tried to ignore Karen. He thought she would calm down after some time. He continued with his daily life, working and taking care of his home. But Karen's actions became more frequent and personal. She would come to his house to tell him he needed to clean his driveway again, or fix something small in his garage. Sometimes she would watch what he was doing and complain to the HOA board about little things. This made the man feel uncomfortable and worried. One morning the man noticed that his garage door was slightly open. He was sure he had closed it the night before. He walked carefully toward the garage, feeling a little nervous. When he looked inside, he saw that some things had been moved. His tools were not in the same place, and some boxes looked like someone had opened them. He felt shocked and confused. Who would come into his garage without asking? Would they get in? The man checked his security cameras. The video showed a surprising scene. Karen, the strict HOA board member, had used a key to open the garage door. She walked inside slowly and looked around. She touched some things and even opened a small box. She stayed there for a few minutes before leaving. The man could not believe it. Karen had broken into his private space without permission. This was a clear invasion of his privacy. He felt many emotions at once: sadness and confusion. How could someone from the HOA, who was supposed to help the neighborhood, do such a thing? The man thought about talking to Karen directly, but he was not sure if it would help. He did not want to make the situation worse. He decided to take some time to think carefully about what to do next. After a few days, the man tried to stay calm and collected. He spoke to some neighbors who also had problems with Karen. They shared similar stories about her being too strict and invading their privacy. Some neighbors said she had come into their yards without permission or checked their trash bins. The man realized he was not alone. Many people were afraid to speak up because Karen was very controlling and sometimes made threats. Despite this, the man knew he had to stand up for himself. His home was his safe place, and no one had the right to enter without asking. He started gathering evidence. He saved the video recordings, took pictures of the garage after the break-in, and wrote down everything he remembered about Karen's behavior. He wanted to be prepared if he needed to talk to the HOA board or the neighbors. When he went to the next HOA meeting, he brought the evidence with him, explained what had happened, and showed the videos. The room was quiet.
Oh.
Some people looked surprised, and others seemed worried. But the HOA board said that Karen was acting with good intentions. They said she wanted to make sure the neighborhood stayed safe and clean. They did not apologize to the man or say that Karen had done anything wrong. The man felt frustrated. It seemed like the HOA was protecting Karen and ignoring his rights. He wondered how a group that was supposed to help the community could allow this kind of behavior. But instead of giving up, he decided to find a way to respond that would be smart and peaceful. He wanted to send a message that invading someone's privacy was not okay. But he did not want to fight or cause trouble. He began thinking about how to use his own property to make a point. He wanted to create a reminder for Karen and the HOA. That respect was important. The idea came slowly but clearly. If Karen thought it was okay to enter his garage without permission, maybe he could make the garage feel like a place where she would understand how it feels to be trapped and watched. But he had to do it carefully and legally because it was his own property. While planning, the man talked to a few close friends and neighbors. They all encouraged him to stand strong but wisely. They told him to keep things peaceful and respectful. The man agreed. He did not want to be like Karen, who caused fear and anger. He wanted to teach a lesson in a calm way. Meanwhile, Karen continued her strict behavior around the neighborhood. She often spoke loudly to neighbors, reminding them of the rules. Some people avoided her, while others tried to talk to her politely. But no one could deny that Karen had changed the quiet life of the neighborhood into something stressful and tense. The man worked quietly on his plan, cleaned the garage, organized things carefully, and prepared some signs and decorations. These were not angry or mean signs, but they were clear and clever. They talked about respect, privacy, and fairness. He added mirrors inside the garage so it felt like a small room where someone could see themselves from every angle, like being watched all the time. He also made sure everything was safe and legal. The garage was still his own property, so he could decide how it looked. But he knew he had to be careful not to break any HOA rules himself. He wanted the message to be about respect, not revenge. The man hoped that when Karen saw the transformed garage, she would understand how important privacy was. Maybe she would think twice before entering someone's space again, maybe the neighbors. And the HOA board would also realize that rules should protect everyone. It's not just one person's power. As the days passed, the neighborhood watched quietly. Some neighbors smiled when they saw the garage. Others talked about how brave the man was to stand up without fighting. The man felt a little relief knowing he was not alone and that he was sending a strong message in a peaceful way. Even though the situation with Karen had caused stress and worry, the man learned something important. Sometimes, standing up for yourself does not mean anger or shouting. It means being clever, calm, and respectful while protecting what is yours.
Ow.
The story was just beginning, but the man was ready for whatever would come next. After the man transformed his garage into a symbolic place, he waited quietly to see what would happen next. He knew that Karen, the strict HOA board member, would notice the change. The man was ready for her reaction, but he stayed calm and hopeful. He wanted the message to be clear but peaceful. It was not about revenge. It was about respect and boundaries. In the days that followed, the man kept paying attention to everything. He watched his security cameras carefully and stayed alert. He also kept talking to neighbors, sharing his thoughts and listening to their feelings. Many neighbors felt nervous but admired his courage. They had seen how Karen had acted unfairly toward them too. Now they saw someone standing up for what was right without causing trouble. The HOA meetings became more interesting. When the man brought up the issue of privacy and Karen's break-in, some board members started to think differently. A few people quietly said they wished the HOA rules were clearer about respecting personal property. They saw how the man's peaceful approach was making a point, but others still supported Karen, saying she was just doing her job and that the neighborhood needed strict rules. Karen herself was confused and upset. When she first saw the garage's new look, she could not believe the man had changed his space into something like a prison for her. There were signs reminding everyone about privacy and respect, and mirrors that made the space feel like a place where you could not hide. The garage looked like a reminder that everyone should be careful with other people's boundaries. Karen wanted to complain. She found it hard. The man had done everything legally. The garage was his own property, and he had every right to decorate it how he wished. She realized she could not accuse him of breaking any rules. This made her more careful, but she also felt embarrassed. The quiet message was clear. If she invaded someone's privacy, she might face consequences in a clever and calm way. The neighbors noticed how Karen's attitude changed. She was less loud and less strict in her visits. Some people even said she seemed to think twice before asking for something. The man's peaceful protest was working in a way no one expected. It showed that standing up for yourself does not always mean fighting with anger. Sometimes it means being wise and calm, using your own space to speak without words. Meanwhile, The man continued to take care of his home and his life. He still enjoyed gardening, fixing things, and spending time with his family. The garage, now a symbol of respect, reminded him every day that boundaries are important. It gave him confidence to know that he had done something good for himself and for the neighborhood. The man also started to think about how the HOA could improve. He believed the rules should be fair and clear for everyone. Privacy should be respected, and no one should feel scared or controlled. He talked to some neighbors about starting a group to discuss changes with the HOA board. Many people agreed it was time for better communication and respect. Some neighbors even shared their own stories about Karen's strictness. One woman said Karen had come into her backyard without asking. Another man said Karen had told him to remove a small plant that was not hurting anything. These stories showed that Karen's behavior was a problem for many people, not just the man with the garage. The man listened carefully and wrote down these stories. He wanted to bring them to the next HOA meeting to show that Karen's actions affected many neighbors. He hoped this would help the HOA understand that rules should protect people, not make them feel trapped or scared. At the same time, the man stayed friendly and respectful. He did not want to start a fight or make enemies. Could change things better than anger? He hoped that Karen, too, could learn from this experience and become a better neighbor one day. A few HOA members visited the man's house. They wanted to see the transformed garage themselves. When they arrived, the man welcomed them politely. He showed them around and explained his idea. He said the garage was a reminder that privacy and respect were important in the neighborhood. He wanted everyone to think about how they treated each other. The HOA members listened carefully. Some nodded in agreement. He said the man's message was clear and clever. They promised to bring this topic up with the rest of the board. Also said they wanted to make sure everyone felt safe and respected in the neighborhood after the visit. The man felt hopeful. He knew change would take time, but this was a good start. He continued to live peacefully, but stayed ready to protect his rights. The garage remained a symbol of calm strength. Karen did not visit the man's garage again. She seemed to avoid his house more often. The man heard from neighbors that Karen was less involved in personal visits and complaints. The community slowly began to feel less tense. The man's story spread quietly in the neighborhood. People talked about how one person's calm courage could make a difference. They realized that standing up for yourself can be done with wisdom and respect. It was not about winning fights, but about creating understanding. The man also learned something important. Sometimes when you feel powerless, you can still find a way to speak up. You do not have to be loud or angry. You can use your own space, your own voice, and your own ideas to make a change. This lesson stayed with him and gave him peace. The neighborhood continued to grow stronger. More neighbors joined the group to talk with the HOA board. They worked together to improve rules and make sure privacy was respected. The community became more friendly and caring. Karen, the strict board member, became less controlling. She still cared about rules, but learned to be kinder and more respectful. The man hoped that one day she would understand that respect and kindness are more powerful than control and fear. The story of the garage that became a symbol of respect showed everyone that standing up for yourself can be done in a peaceful and clever way. It reminded the neighborhood that everyone deserves to feel safe and respected in their own home. The man felt proud of what he had done. He knew that sometimes the best way to solve problems is not by fighting, but by being wise and calm. His home was safe again, and the neighborhood was beginning to heal. After the man's peaceful protest with his garage, the neighborhood began to buzz quietly with curiosity. Everyone wanted to see what the prison garage looked like and understand the message behind it. Some neighbors who had never spoken up before started to feel brave. They realized that the man was showing them a way to stand up for their rights without anger or conflict. This gave the community a new kind of hope. The man worked carefully to make the garage a place that could speak without words. He placed mirrors inside, so when someone stepped in, they saw themselves from many angles. It gave a feeling of being watched, just like how Karen had made people feel when she invaded their privacy. He hung signs with polite but firm messages about respect, boundaries, and trust. The signs were not angry. They were calm and clear. They said things like, "Privacy is a right and respect others' space." Word spread quietly, and soon some neighbors asked if they could visit the garage. The man welcomed them warmly. He wanted people to see the message in a safe and peaceful way. As they walked inside, many nodded thoughtfully. They talked about how important privacy was and how everyone deserved respect, no matter what. One afternoon, a few HOA members arrived to see the garage for themselves. The man greeted them politely and showed them around. He explained why he had made the garage this way, said it was not to punish anyone, but to remind everyone that boundaries should be respected. The HOA members listened carefully. Some looked surprised. Others looked thoughtful. They thanked the man for sharing his idea and promised to think about how the HOA could do better. Meanwhile, noticed the change too. She stopped coming to the man's house and was quieter during neighborhood events. Some neighbors said she seemed less angry and more cautious. The man hoped that the message of the garage was reaching her, that respect and kindness were better than control and fear. The neighborhood began to feel less tense. More people started talking about the importance of fairness and respect. They understood that rules were there to help, not to make life difficult. The man was happy to see this change. He knew it would take time, but he believed the neighborhood was moving in the right direction. One day, the man received a letter from the HOA board. It was different from before. The letter thanked him for his calm and thoughtful way of handling the situation. It said the board was reviewing the neighborhood, rules to make sure they were fair for everyone. The letter also invited him to join a new committee that would help improve communication between neighbors and the HOA. The man felt proud and hopeful. He accepted the invitation. He wanted to help make the neighborhood a better place, not just for himself, but for all his neighbors. He believed that listening and working together was the best way to solve problems. As the man became more involved, he met many neighbors who shared their stories. Some talked about small problems with the rules. Others shared how they felt scared or uncomfortable because of Karen's strictness. The man listened with care and wrote down their concerns. He promised to bring these issues to the HOA meetings, so everyone's voice could be heard. The new committee started meeting regularly. They worked on ways to improve the rules and make sure everyone understood them clearly. They also created a system where neighbors could talk about their problems openly and find solutions together. This made the neighborhood feel more friendly and connected. Karen was invited to join some of the meetings. At first, she was quiet and a little defensive. But as she listened to the neighbors' stories, she began to understand how her actions had affected people. She started to change. Her approach, becoming more respectful and less strict. The man was glad to see this. He believed everyone could learn and grow. The garage, with its mirrors and calm messages, remained a symbol of the neighborhood's journey. It reminded people that standing up for yourself could be done with kindness and wisdom. Showed that respect and boundaries were important for a happy community. The man continued to take care of his home and family. He enjoyed his peaceful life more than ever. He knew that sometimes small actions could make a big difference. His calm courage had helped change the neighborhood for the better. Neighbors often stopped by to talk or just to see the garage. Many thanked the man for his strength and wisdom. They said he had taught them how to stand up without fighting, how to protect their homes and hearts. As time passed, the neighborhood grew stronger. The rules became fairer and the community more caring. The man felt proud to be part of this change. He knew that standing up for yourself was not about anger or revenge. It was about respect, understanding, and peace. The story of the garage that became a symbol of respect spread beyond the neighborhood. Other communities heard about it and wanted to learn how to handle their own problems with kindness and wisdom. The man shared his experience happily, hoping to inspire others. He often thought about how his peaceful protest had changed everything. It had not been easy, but it was worth it. He had protected his privacy and helped his neighbors do the same. He had shown that even one person could make a difference by being calm, clever, and respectful. The man knew that life would bring new challenges, but he felt ready. He had learned that respect was a two-way street. When you respect others, they are more likely to respect you. And when you stand up for your rights calmly, you can create change without causing harm. His story was a reminder that every home is a place of safety and trust. Everyone deserves to feel secure and respected in their own space. The man's peaceful stand had helped make this true for his neighborhood, and that was his greatest reward. The quiet change in the neighborhood was noticeable to everyone. After the man turned his garage into a symbol of respect and privacy, the mood began to shift. People felt less tension when they walked down the streets. Conversations became warmer, and neighbors greeted each other more often. The man noticed how the simple act of standing up with calmness had brought the community closer. Karen, who had been the cause of much stress, was no longer as forceful. She still cared about the neighborhood and its rules, but her attitude softened. She stopped making harsh demands or entering people's property without asking. Some neighbors even said she smiled more and seemed less worried about controlling every detail. It was a change many had hoped for but did not expect so soon. One afternoon, during a neighborhood picnic, the man saw Karen talking quietly with a few other HOA members. They were smiling and laughing softly. It was a surprising sight considering how tense things had been before. The man felt a small hope inside. Maybe people could change when given a chance and shown respect in return. The HOA board, inspired by the peaceful way the man had handled his situation, decided to hold a special meeting. They invited all neighbors to join and talk about how to improve the community. The goal was to make the rules fairer and to make sure everyone felt safe and respected. This was a new step, and many people were excited to be part of it. At the meeting, the man shared his story. He spoke honestly about how Karen's actions had affected him and others. He showed the pictures and videos he had collected. He explained how he had turned his garage into a place to remind everyone about respect and boundaries. People listened carefully, some nodded, others took notes. It was clear that his message had touched many hearts. Neighbors took turns speaking. They shared their own experiences and ideas. Some said they wanted clearer rules about privacy and property access. Others wanted better ways to talk with the HOA when problems arose. The man was glad to hear these thoughts. It showed that the community was ready to work together and find solutions. Karen also spoke at the meeting. She apologized for making people feel uncomfortable. She said she had learned a lot from the man's calm protest and from the neighbors' stories. She promised to be more respectful and to listen more carefully before taking action. This was a brave moment, and the room filled with quiet applause. After the meeting, the HOA started making changes. They wrote new rules that clearly protected neighbors' privacy. They created a system where people could voice concerns without fear. They also formed committees to help keep communication open between the board and the residents. The man felt proud to be part of this process. It showed that peaceful standing up could lead to real change. The neighborhood felt like a fresh start. People were kinder to each other. They worked together on small projects like cleaning parks and planting flowers. The man enjoyed walking through the streets, seeing neighbors smile and talk. It was a place where respect and friendship grew stronger every day. The man's garage became a kind of landmark. People still visited it, but now with smiles and respect. It reminded everyone of the time when one person's calm courage helped change a whole community. The signs and mirrors stayed for a while, but the message was clear in people's hearts. Karen and the man even started to talk more. They found common ground and shared ideas for making the neighborhood better. Man was glad to see that even people who once caused problems could change with understanding and kindness. It made him hopeful for the future. One day a new family moved into the neighborhood. The man welcomed them warmly and told them about the community's journey. He shared how respect and calm actions had helped create a better place to live. The new family felt grateful and happy to be part of such a caring neighborhood. The man realized that standing up for himself changed not just his life, but the lives of many others. It was not about fighting or anger. It was about respect, communication, and patience. He hoped that his story would inspire other neighborhoods to find peaceful ways to solve their problems. Life continued peacefully. The man spent time with his family, worked in his garden, and helped neighbors when they needed it. The neighborhood was stronger, and the bonds between people were deeper. It was a place where everyone felt safe, respected, and cared for. The man often thought about the lesson he had learned, that respect is the foundation of any community. When people listen and care for each other, problems can be solved without hurt or anger. His calm stand against the break-in brought this truth to life. The story of the garage and the neighborhood's change spread beyond their streets. Other communities heard about it and wanted to learn how to build respect and trust. The man shared his experience gladly, hoping to help others find peaceful ways to stand up for themselves. The man's peaceful courage became a quiet inspiration. It showed that even when things seem difficult, there is always a way to create change with kindness and wisdom. The neighborhood's journey was a reminder that respect and understanding are powerful tools for building a happy and safe community. Time passed, and the neighborhood grew even stronger. The changes that began with one man's calm and clever actions spread through the community, helping everyone feel safer and more respected. The man saw how much happier people were, how smiles were more common, and how neighbors helped each other more often. The peaceful stand he had taken had created a new spirit in the neighborhood. The HOA continued to improve the rules and how they worked with the people who lived there. Meetings became friendlier, and everyone was encouraged to speak openly about their concerns and ideas. The man was proud to be part of this positive change. He knew it would help not only his neighborhood, but also serve as an example for others. Karen, once known as the strict and sometimes harsh HOA member, had changed too. She had learned the importance of respect and kindness. She was less strict and more understanding. The man even noticed her helping neighbors with small tasks and smiling warmly at community events. It showed that people can grow when given a chance and shown respect in return. The man's garage, once a symbol of his peaceful protest, had been returned to its normal state, but the story of what it represented stayed alive in the hearts of the neighbors. It reminded everyone that privacy and respect are important, and that peaceful actions can make a big difference. One day, the man was walking through the neighborhood and saw a new family moving in. He stopped to greet them and welcomed them warmly. He shared a little about the community's journey and how everyone worked together to build a better place to live. The new family felt happy and safe, knowing they had joined a caring neighborhood. Man thought back on the time when Karen had broken into his garage. It was a difficult moment, but it led to something good. It showed him the power of calm, courage, and clever thinking. Instead of anger, he chose respect and peaceful action. This choice had helped heal the community and bring people closer. He often told his story to friends and neighbors who faced problems. He explained that standing up for yourself does not mean fighting or being mean. It means being calm, wise, and respectful. When people listen and care for each other, they can solve problems together. The man continued to live a happy life, spent time with his family, worked on his garden, and helped neighbors when they needed it. He felt peaceful and proud. His home was safe, and his neighborhood was full of respect and kindness. The neighborhood grew into a place where everyone felt they belonged. People cared for each other and worked together to keep their community beautiful and friendly. The man knew that this change started with one small but powerful action. It was a lesson that respect and calm courage can change the world around you. His story spread beyond the neighborhood, inspiring other communities to find peaceful ways to stand up for themselves. The man was happy to share his experience, hoping to help others create respect and understanding in their own neighborhoods. He believed that everyone deserves to feel safe and respected in their own home. And sometimes, it takes just one person to start a change. The man's peaceful protest with his garage showed that courage and respect are stronger than fear and control. As he looked around his neighborhood, seeing friends and neighbors smiling and working together, the man felt a deep sense of joy. He knew that the future was bright because it was built on respect, kindness, and calm strength. His story was proof that standing up for yourself can be done with wisdom and peace, creating a better life for everyone.